Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and joining me is LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts. We're broadcasting live every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the blogtalkradio.com network, bringing you some of the best golfers, teacher professionals, and entrepreneurs helping to elevate women's golf. We're so glad you decided to join us this morning, so grab your coffee and let's get started. All right, good morning once again, everybody, and thank you for joining us here on the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, and right alongside is none other than Legends Tour player and LPGA professional Cindy Miller, and we are your hosts here on the Women of Golf. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Ted. How are we today?
We are doing really well for two reasons, namely our guests. We're going to be joined here in just a second. We were just talking with her off air. Sarah White, of course, the winner of this past weekend's Symetra Tour event, the Founders Tribute, and lots of firsts, and we'll talk about that when we bring her out. And then a little bit later on, we're welcoming back Louise Ball, who is an LPGA professional and owner and director of TN Golf Academy. She'll be joining us on the second half. Just a really, really great show this morning, so we're glad everybody's tuning in. And let me just tell you a little bit about our first guest, and then we'll bring her on. Sarah, she turned professional this past January. She is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and has appeared on the ABC reality television series Holy Moly. We got to talk to her about that. She played Division I. She was a state championship medalist for East Kentwood High School. She also started goaltender for 2 seasons on their varsity hockey team. Attended the Western Michigan University before transferring to Texas State University, earned 3 top 5 finishes for the Bobcats in 27 events played. Let's welcome Cindy, our very special guest this morning, the winner of the Founders Tribute, Sarah White.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. Wow, you are unbelievable. So just to get our listeners up to speed here, so Sarah White turned pro in January of 2020, had played on a mini tour, the All-Pro Tour, got an exemption into the Symetra Tour event, not even a member of the tour, and wins it. Tell us,
yes.
Like, what the heck? Thanks so much. And I just went to look at your bio on the Symetra Tour, it says tournaments 1, results number 1. I don't know that that's ever really happened, right?
I'd have to do some more research, but I'm not sure if that's happened before.
And did you get to stay at home? Were you so close to the tournament that you got to stay at your house?
No, ma'am. So the Founders Tribute was in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay.
So that was last week. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I didn't play in the one in Michigan. But everything happens for a reason. So the one in Mesa was my one and only.
Holy
but the one
cow.
in Michigan, the one in Michigan's only 45 minutes from my house, actually.
Well, you'll be there next year, won't you?
I will be there next year.
Unless you're on the
sure.
LPGA Tour playing there. So let me ask you this.
Well,
were you in the last group? The last
yes, ma'am.
day?
I was in the last group. Yeah, so I was one back from the
And you
lead
birdied the last hole.
day. I did. I birdied the last hole. I had to make a 5-footer. I made a sand
Holy
save
cow.
up and down on a par 5.
Get out of town. How scared were you?
I wasn't scared at all. I was more excited, and those are the moments you live for. So
right?
the night before, I vividly remember dreaming of making a putt on the last hole and winning it all. So that's just I've had it in my mind that I could do it, and I didn't have any doubts when I was standing over the putt. I was more excited than anything else because those are, again, the moments you live for and what you hope to do. You know, come in clutch in those last putts for 5 foot, and I did.
Holy cow! There's not even any stats on you. So what's the best part of your game?
Yeah. I hit the ball fairly far for a female. I think it was all those years of hockey training, and I also work, well, not so much anymore, but out of college, I had a golf fitness and speed training job. So that's out of San Antonio called Mach 3 Speed Training, which you train to gain club head speed. So I always hit it pretty far, but I gained about 6 mile-an-hour, and my driving stats the past 2 days were over 300 yards.
What?
Wow.
I mean, yeah, so Arizona heat and some roll and everything, but my TrackMan numbers are right around 107 miles an hour, 160 ball speed.
Oh my God!
Carry about
265,
270.
Oh
yeah.
My God. Oh, Sarah,
But
this
I
is
will
just
say,
so awesome.
I mean, yeah, driving's the best part of my game, but I made 10 birdies the second day. You know, obviously my putting doesn't suck either. So I don't know. I'm playing really well right now, and I have been absolutely grinding and practicing my heart out. So it was really rewarding to win because I knew I could do it for so long, and it just all came together.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Ted, go ahead.
Thank you.
Well, I got to say, after hearing some of those stats, I think I need to, Cindy, let you finish the interview, and I'm going to go out and practice my game because I'm not hitting it 300 yards, and I'm 6'4" and about 200 pounds, and I used to be able to crank it out there pretty good, but you just put me to shame. Let me ask you something. I was looking through some of the notes here, and again, congratulations, Sarah, on a well-deserved win, and obviously, as Disney always says, dreams do come true.
Yes, they do.
What's interesting is you've been dreaming about being a professional golfer since 5.
Yes.
What sort of spurred that? I mean, do you come kind of from a golfing family? I mean, that's an unusual dream for somebody that young. You know, usually, little boys and girls are dreaming about being, this, that, or the other, but very few, unless they come from a golfing background, think I want to grow up and be a professional golfer. So tell us how that sort of dream came about, do you think?
So no one in my family played golf other than my older brother. He, I was for sure 100% that annoying little sister that would, copy everything that my big brother did, my big brother and my big sister. So my brother went to this golfing camp. I don't know, he was 7 or something, and I was 4 or 5, and he really liked it. And then he started getting swing lessons. So I went to one of them and was like, I want to play golf. I want to be like my brother. That's how he actually got me into hockey as well, as he started. And I was like, I want to be like my brother. So he was really the only golfer in the family. And he was on the bag this week, which was truly special for me. And for my brother, he's kind of chiming in. But it was, so he started into golf, and when I started, I started playing tournaments around the age of 7, and both when I was like 5, I was like, I want to be a professional hockey player and a professional golfer in the summers. Well, one of those didn't work out very well, but I had a little bit more talent and room to grow, I think, in hockey, because I did play boys hockey my entire life. So from boys hockey going to girls hockey, I would have to play in college, and I just, I was more for going into golf, and I had a better opportunity. But so I just had that dream, and I had that drive, and I don't know, I think my brother was a big part of it. I would he plays professional golf actually as well. So he's on the PGA Tour Latin America. And so when he actually won in the desert last year or 2 years ago, he won the Nevada Open. And so we both played desert golf pretty well, and he was just telling me about his experiences, and he was just always encouraging me throughout the years, and that really helped.
Very
That
good.
so
Always
awesome.
nice to have that's a great story. So do you guys, when you have the opportunity, because obviously you're both out competing and things like that, do you and your brother get a chance to play together from time to time, just some practice rounds for fun or what have you, or are you both kind of competitive when you get together?
Well, we will never not be competitive. You know, when we're playing against each other, we'll play for, well, now we can play for money. But, you know, back in the day, we would just do for soda or pop or, you know, we would always, for some reason, we would always joke when my parents went out, you know, on a date night. It was me, my brother, my sister. We'd always be like, I'm first in charge. No, I'm first in charge. So we would play for that, you know, stuff like that. And so we play together as much as we can, I think, because he resides in Houston area and I'm in San Antonio. We can play a little bit more, but when he was in Florida, I was in Texas, or I was, you know, it was hard, but we'll play together, we practice together, we help each other, we send swing videos back and forth, and yeah, it's really good.
So as you were coming up through the ranks as a player, what was your, I guess for lack of better words, what was your Achilles heel? What was the area of your game that you struggled with most to get to where you are now? And what lessons did you learn during that process and getting those, let me see if I can rephrase this so it makes sense. First off, what areas did you struggle most with as a younger player, and what do you think that you learned developing your game that would definitely help amateurs out there?
So putting was my Achilles heel for sure, 100%. Honestly, up until about February of this past year, I struggled with putting like it was nobody's business. I could go out and shoot a 73 with 39 putts. It was very frustrating because I knew I could do it, and I just wasn't executing. I didn't know if it was, you know, at some point you're like, is it the stroke? Is it me? Is it the putter? You know, there was so many different factors, and my swing coach right now, him and I, we just completely cleared my mind of everything, and he said for 8 weeks straight, I don't want you to line up your putts. I want you to look at the hole, do a couple practice strokes, and then putt. All you're focusing on is speed. Doesn't matter line, doesn't matter where it starts, doesn't matter anything else. All you have to worry about is speed. I did that for 8 weeks straight. I went on the putting green, did not line up a single putt. I was just out there doing speed drills. Not even drills. I was just putting around. You know, for amateur players and people looking to get better, you have to remember there's a balance between playing and practicing. Like block practice didn't do me any good. I had to go out and I had to, you know, play around. I had to be creative. I had to do a ton of different things. And so that was my turning point for me, was just focusing on the speed of the putts. And then from focusing on the speed, my setup got better, my club path or my putter path got better, my, you know, face angle, everything that you could say technical got better from focusing on one thing. So it could be as simple as that, but that's one thing that I mean, my first pro event in January, I took a top 5, but in 3 rounds, I had 8 3-putts, and I lost by 6. So
let me ask you a question.
To put that into perspective.
Have you ever been tested? I got to ask a question. Have you ever been tested to find out if you see linear lines or nonlinear lines?
I have not. I
well,
have not
you are
ever
definitely
tested
not.
that.
Yeah, you're. So my husband played on the PGA Tour for 15 years, and he was the second purest ball striker Dave Pels ever tested. And Dave Pels was always trying to help Alan with his putting, and he didn't three-putt a lot, but he didn't make all the 20-footers because he hit so many greens.
Yeah.
And so what we found out like 25 years later from a guy by the name of Mike Shannon, we went to get tested, and our son played at Augusta State. So, I mean, we're like a family of golfers, right? And so you might want to mute yourself at the background. Somebody's in the background talking.
Yeah, we just
anyway.
got to the golf course. Someone's yelling.
Okay. So anyway, we got tested, and it's how your eyes see lines. And some people are linear and some people are nonlinear. So let's pretend we got a huge putt that breaks from right to left, and you're on the side of a hill. And you're going to plop a clock down on the hole straight in front of you. And if the ball breaks a lot from right to left, the ball's going to fall in the hole at 3 o'clock. You follow me? So you're always looking at 3 o'clock. You're never aiming like 2 cups outside the right side of the hole. You're never doing that because nonlinear people will miss every putt if they look at a spot outside the hole. But when you're nonlinear and you look at the clock, all balls are going in the hole. I'm telling you what, if you do that, that's why you're putting so much better, because he allowed you to be right-brained. You are absolutely nonlinear, so never use lines again, ever.
Yeah.
Always look at where you want the ball to end up, and it'll go right in the hole.
Okay. That's some great advice. I had no idea, but that's some really good information, and I think I just did that very indirectly.
Well, and that's the point, because left-brain anal people that love block practice and are always looking at numbers are going to make you feel like, oh, my God, you can't do that. You can't, that's too, dumb, blonde, right brain. And it's like, no, it's the only way you can play. Do not let anyone sway you.
Okay, I won't. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So, Sarah, let me ask you, you're getting ready to play in your next event, and obviously you're riding off a high, if you will, from being successful in last weekend's event. So what is going to be your game plan coming into this event?
So my game plan coming into this event is about the same as last week. So it's just trusting the process and getting out there, getting a feel for the course, and taking it one shot at a time. We're back at $0, So I'm still out here trying to prove to myself, that I can do this. I can be out here and I compete with the best of the best. So that's what I got to do. Just take it one shot at a time and take it as this course comes. I'm standing out at the golf course right now, and it is a whole new ball field than last week. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you another question. We had another player on, not sure if it was last week or the week before, and her focus is she wants to be number one. That's what her primary goal is. I want to be number one. And that's what her now obviously she has little goals and hurdles along the way, but that's the prize that she has her eye on. Do you have a similar goal in mind? Because not everybody's in that same category. I mean, obviously it'd be great if you got to number one, but is that a priority for you to get to number one, or do you have other goals and ambitions?
So I think any professional golfers want to be number one all the time. But I think for me, my number one goal is to play the best that I can and doing what I know I can do best, and I think the results will take care of itself. If I end up number one, that's going to be amazing, and I think I can do it, and I want to do it. But if I go out and play, the best golf I can every tournament and end up second, I mean, the other girl, it was either her year, and she played really well. She did everything that she needed to do. I did everything I needed to do, but there's always next year. There's always something that you can do. But if I keep playing as best as I can and doing what I know I do best, I don't think that being number one is going to be like a far-fetched dream.
Right, exactly. Let me ask you another question, and I know you've played a lot of golf. This is obviously you're just sort of getting out on the Symetra now. But through other tournament play, obviously everything doesn't always go the way it's planned. So it's sort of a two-part question. First, when the wheels, as they say, sort of fall off the bus, in other words, you're out there, you're not playing well, what do you say to yourself in the moment to bring yourself back to focusing on what needs to happen? In other words, when things are not going, maybe you've strung together a few bad holes or what have you, what do you say to yourself to get you back on track? And who is the first person, when it's appropriate timing, who's the first person that you call or reach out to for that soft place to land?
So if things aren't going my way, I try and just simplify. My game plan is pretty simple anyway, but I try and think of what my miss is, and I play to either play it, or I just try and simplify and be like, I need to get this in the fairway. I have to, if I'm not hitting my driver well, I'll move to 3-wood or hybrid or something that can get in play, because if you're in play, that's half the battle. So I think just simplifying it to the point of, like, I need to get this in play, whether that's a 4-iron off the tee, I'm hitting a fade, so I'm just going to aim down the left side. You can't, if you're in the middle of a tournament, you can't be going into swing fix-it mode. You have to be able to somehow get a par. You can't be like, oh, gosh, I'm going over the top today in the middle of, like, you're 1 over through 10. Right. And the projected cut's -1. Like, you got to play that. You got to play over the top. You got to hit, like, a punch shot. You got to do something to get to that cut line, whatever that may be.
Fairway finder.
The fairway finder. You have to, and then figure out your demons after the round. There is plenty of time for you to go hit on the range. But the person I call is my swing coach. His name's Craig Piskapink in Michigan, or my brother. He'll be on that. He'll be that second call for sure. So
that's
I think
awesome.
it's just So it's. I mean, everyone has those days, and you're just gonna have to find a way to play. Like, you're playing bad, but you gotta play. You got to score, I don't care how ugly it is. If I get the ball in the hole with a par, then I'll be all right. Par or birdie.
Yeah. Let me just add one thought, and then Cindy, I'll let you carry on. Your answer, and I'm obviously talking about the first part of your answer, while you're on the golf course, is spot on, and that is the primary difference between a professional like yourself and the 24 or 25 million plus amateurs who play this game, is the fact that they try to fix their swing. They try to make drastic changes out there, whereas professionals will play with what they've got, and then after the round, they'll go and work on or get out the bugs or kinks or whatever. That is, I believe, the primary difference of why people succeed in the professional circuit and why amateurs struggle so much, is because they don't understand that you have to do just that, what you explained. And I think that was very well said. I think and that, in my opinion, Cindy, you probably would agree, this young lady is going to be a player. This young lady is going to be a really good player. Yeah, you've got a great attitude, and you know exactly what you need to do out on the golf course. Work with whatever you brought to the golf course that day. Make whatever changes or adjustments you need after the round. Don't do it mid-round, because that's when everything really goes south. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, what's your brother's name?
His name's Brett White.
And where did he go to school?
He went to Eastern Michigan.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. What makes you so competitive and so driven to be so good at so many sports?
I think just being my whole entire family, I think, my dad played 2 sports in college. My mom actually played hockey, and my sister played some sports as well. I think it's just kind of the culture that we grew up in. My dad was a weightlifting and phys ed teacher. He was a coach. I think we were just always into sports, and I think that's just my nature is to be. I don't believe that you should do something, you know. I have to think of a PG way to say this. Half-hearted. You know, I think that if you're not.
Yeah.
I don't think that you should do something if you don't want to work for it or if you don't think that you can put the time in. I mean, to be a professional golfer, you know, I've put in 60, 70-hour weeks on the golf course and putting and practicing and weight training, you know, eating right. And if you don't want to do that, I think, but there is a balance. And that's one thing that I think I have found as well is finding a balance between, I like to say, like real life and pro life. You know, like I still have friends. I'll go out. My brother and I had a couple beverages after we won. You know, there's a balance for sure, and you have to find it. But you have to put the time in. You know, I don't think there's a doubt in anybody's mind that all these pro golfers can do it, but I don't know. I think that's just me, is I will never do something half-hearted.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, how about all the girls? Are they all like, were they shocked that you won?
I want to say that they were probably pretty shocked. I only knew about, a handful of girls in this tournament, in this last tournament. I knew just a couple from college. I knew a couple actually working with Mach 3 speed training. We had 6 girls that did Mach 3 speed training and was in this past event. So I knew them from actually training them. And then other than that, it was like, oh, hey, you're new. And I was like, hi, nice to meet you.
I just love this story. It's like, hi, I'm here all week. See ya. In fact, I'm here all year now. See you later.
Yeah.
I just love it.
I did have a few girls reach out to me via Instagram and some other platforms that were like, hey, I just saw you on the putting green. I wanted to let you know, congratulations, and we'll see you around, and, you know, stuff like that.
That's
so I
nice. Good. So they're not being breath.
No, and I'm sure I'll make fast friends. It's not hard for me to spark up a conversation with like a bush or something, but.
Okay, that's good to know. Good to know. Oh my God, I am so proud of you. This is just so cool. But let me ask you something. Why are you not listed on the money list? Because you won the money before you were a member?
Yeah. So as a non-member, and I was a non-member, you know, nothing like that. I got a tournament exemption. I will not be counted toward the race to the card. So I would be third right now, but I'm back at 0. So Brett and I celebrated
you did get the money,
win,
though, right?
And I did get the money. But we're back at 0. I'm out putting right now. You're in my AirPods. So I'm just out here putting some work in, and yeah, I got an early tee time. I had to get. So what's funny is I obviously wasn't supposed to be playing this week because I had to win to play. So I have to isolate myself because I got COVID tested on Sunday because all the other girls went a couple days beforehand that knew they were playing in this. And then after I won, they were like, do you want to play next week? And I'm like, yeah. And then they were like, do you want to accept membership? And I was like, yep. And then they're like, okay, after the ceremony, you have to go and then get COVID tested, and then you have to isolate yourself next week until we get the results. So Brett and I got up at about 5:15 this morning, and we're waiting to go off at, I think, 7 in Pacific time. So.
Wow.
Where in California are you?
We're in Beaumont, California. It's just south of St. Bernardino.
Like 70 miles east
70 miles east of LA.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Very good.
Awesome.
Well, Sarah, we're going to let you continue.
Honey, you're my new BFF. Yeah. I'm going to haunt you. And you know what? If you have issues with that putting and you want to, I'll make you a video. And if you're open to it, let me tell the Symetra guy, whoever hooked this up, to send me your email address, and I'll explain this linear, nonlinear. And that's the way the rest of your life's going to work. And then you're going to be the number one player in the world. And you can do that. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
All right.
Great job.
Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely.
Kick some ass.
Thank you. I will.
Yep.
So it is okay to say ass on radio.
Well, sure, of course. Listen, nowadays you can do just about anything. Well, Sarah, listen, we're going to let you go because we know you got to practice, get ready for this. But if you win this week, we'll talk to you next Tuesday on the show. So how's that?
All right. Well,
so get out there and win that. It gives you a reason to come back. All right.
Yes, it does.
Bye,
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Bye.
All right, congratulations
Thank you so
again.
much
Good
for
luck,
having me
honey.
on. Thank you. Thank
bye-bye.
you.
All right, that was Sarah White, winner of this past weekend's Founders Tribute, and her first win. What an incredible story, Cindy. I mean, that's just amazing.
How
just
cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, just to turn pro and then come right out of the gate in your first event as a non-member of the tour to win the event, get automatic membership. I mean, it's regrettable, but I understand why they do it. It's regrettable that she doesn't get counted in the money list yet, and that's why I was saying earlier in the beginning of the segment that she would have been in third spot, as she just pointed out, had she been able to be counted. So, but it's giving her momentum in this week, and she just got such a great attitude, and I think she's going to do very well through the rest of the season. She just got great attitude. She just got, as she pointed out earlier, she knows what to do in the moment. As she pointed out, in a round, if things are not running as smoothly as she likes, she's not going to mess around with it. She's going to play with what she's got, and then she'll worry about it after the round and deal with it with her coach and so forth. But all right, let's bring our next guest out, Louise Ball. She's a 20-year member of the LPGA's Teaching and Club Professional Division. Currently resides in Knoxville, Tennessee, with her husband Tom and their two Basset Hounds. She's also the owner of TN Golf Academy, where she teaches private and group lessons to both men and women of all ages and all abilities. And she's also a site director for the LPGA's USGA Girls Golf of Eastern Tennessee and runs her club's youth golf program. Let's welcome her back on the show, our very special guest, Cindy Louise Ball.
Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Cindy Miller. Miller time.
Did you hear that last interview?
I heard the end of it, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning of it. Wow.
Oh my God! How cool is that?
I want to know her. That's great.
Yeah, unbelievable. What a great.
I wonder how often.
Yeah.
I wonder how often that has happened.
Not much, I don't think.
Right?
Much.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
very
unusual.
And you know what made me happy was hearing that some of the girls have reached out to her already, because that's so important just to feel like, okay, I've won. Yeah, part of the group, that's so important, I think, especially for women.
Earned the right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's,
anyway.
It's nice too because, as if you've played on tour, it can be very lonely a lot of times out there as well. So, it's important not only that you want to play well, but you want to, have a little camaraderie as well and a lot of, make some friends out there. And it's not easy especially for these young girls that are, don't have the benefit of flying here and there. They're driving pretty much from tournament to tournament. So there are a lot of times some of them might carpool, but a lot of them are on their own, and it can be very lonely at times. So you need to have some friends that you can communicate with that can relate to what you're doing. So, Cindy, you go ahead and start off with Louise, and then I'll pick up.
I'm still in awe about Sarah White. So, hi, honey. How are you?
I'm good. I know. It's a tough act to follow. Ask me something that makes me sound important, Cindy.
Okay. So, What are you doing? Are you up to speed? Are you teaching? What's going on? Because you are like the junior golf queen of the world.
Well, yes, thank you. I feel like I'm up to speed. I've switched locations this year, so it's been kind of a fresh new start. When life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. So our club was purchased by a private company, and I guess they didn't need me anymore. So I looked elsewhere, and I have found the perfect spot. So I'm super happy.
Really?
I've gone from a private club to a public facility that is so busy I can't even tell you. So it's really been a blessing.
So it's a blessing.
It is. It really is.
Oh, that's awesome.
With this whole, I don't even know what to call it anymore. I guess I'll just call it the global pandemic because it is. Golf has survived in our area. We haven't had here in East Tennessee a really bad time with it, which has been nice. So we've been open all along, with precautions, of course. But golf's been booming here. So, I mean, the range at night, there's 35 people on our driving range every night. I mean, it's crazy. So, plenty to do.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
And lots of new customers for me, because it's a new spot for me, and it's only 10 minutes from where I was, so everybody knows me. But it's a whole new group of people. So
I've been a public person my whole life, so
yeah. You know what? I didn't realize I missed it, but I did.
Yeah. No, I love public. So talk to us about the kids. What are you doing with all the kids? You still got girls golf going on and all the.
I took a little break from girls golf this year. Just because of the new location, and then with the pandemic, we didn't really get started right away. So I thought, you know what, sometimes you just need a little break. I've done my junior camps, and those were great this year, and the kids wore their masks when we were in the golf cart, and, everybody still had fun. It was great to kind of get my group a little bit smaller again. The last few years at the country club, I had over 50 kids. So I had smaller camps this year. I had groups of 8, and I just did more weeks. And it worked out really well. So that's what we're doing. And then we're on break right now. The kids are going back to school. So I'm going to start, I think, a fall league and get them out and get them playing on the golf course. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ted, go ahead.
Louise, let me ask you just something you said a few minutes ago about, the range being really busy, throughout the day and just, incredible volumes. Obviously, as you pointed out, this pandemic has not hurt golf as it has many other areas in the same, certainly, I would say in probably 99.9% of the country. Are you seeing a lot of, and I know you're at a new facility, so obviously it's going to be new to you anyways, but are you seeing a lot of new first-time golfers coming out that, because of the pandemic, they can't do a lot of other things, so they're saying, what the heck, let's get out and give golf a try? And if so, what do you think you can do to entice them to, hey, this isn't just a pandemic alternative, this is an opportunity to turn them into lifelong golfers?
Yeah, good question. I feel that definitely has happened, not only with adults but with kids too. I think at our facility we have a lot of people that are just trying to figure out if they want to be golfers or not. So that's, I'd say, half of our range kind of looks like that. Like you see friends helping friends, learn the swing, which is always interesting. And then I walk up and just give them my card. No, just kidding. But you have a lot of that, and then with the kids, I have several boys, especially where the younger brother might play a different sport other than golf, but they haven't been able to do anything. So now all of a sudden, little brother's like, "Oh, okay, I want to do something," And so these other kids are starting to take up the game because a sibling is doing it, because they can't go to baseball practice, and then soccer's been canceled, and all the other stuff. They haven't been able to do anything. So that's been pretty neat, actually. A cool part of it.
Yeah, and I think it's a real opportunity for golf out of a difficult situation for everybody, this is a real opportunity to expose the game. Because, one of the disadvantages of golf, unlike many other sports, is it's not very well entrenched in school in the junior levels. It isn't really until high school and then, of course, collegiate that we see golf, unlike many of other sports. So there's a lot of kids that their only exposure to golf, unless they're in a golfing family, is what they see on television. Of course, they're seeing the PGA guys, they're seeing the LPGA gals, but they're not really seeing it in their own, close, intimate circles. So this is an opportunity to really open up, to a whole brand new crop of kids and adults that have never been exposed to the game before. So what do you think as a general overall, consensus, what do you think the golf industry should really do? How should we capitalize on this sort of new exposure? How should we handle this, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think, the LPGA has done a great job with the Invite Her movement, and, people just want to be invited or asked or welcomed in, as Sarah kind of alluded to. That was it sounds like one of maybe the highlights of the aftermath of what she did was, people recognized her, said, hey, nice job, things like that. So, just getting people to come to the golf course, it can be really intimidating because I think most people that don't know about golf think you have to be good at it before you can go on the golf course, which is not the case.
Right.
You need to go with somebody that can guide you, but, start at the 100-yard marker. I think that's where Operation 36 does a nice job, is they start at the green and they go backwards so you can kind of get comfortable out there. And, who wants to go to the driving range and never take it to the golf course where that's actually the end result? What we're trying to get to is just get more golfers out there. So I think, just inviting people, I think people like group classes. It's less intimidating, so offering more things like that, offering some women-only classes, and I think ladies are a little bit more comfortable with that at first. And then, there's a lot of singles who can meet people through golf. So why not have some?
Right.
We do some clinics that are called Clinics with a Twist, and it's an hour long, and we have a cocktail, a signature cocktail, and we play music, and it's for men and women. So it's kind of like a party, festive atmosphere. But, oh, hey, by the way, here's how you swing the club. Here's how you hold the putter. It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's a great, golf can be a great social thing. You're exactly right. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do to that. And, just to go back, to your point, you don't have to, everybody thinks I've got to, I want to look good. Especially women have, I think, struggle with this more so than men. Men, they get out there, they'll swing and chop and do whatever. They don't really care.
Right.
But women, they don't want to embarrass themselves. And I used to consider myself a pretty decent golfer in all my time until we had Sarah on this morning and I heard some of her stats and her abilities, and now I'm not so sure. But but all kidding aside, but you're right. You don't have to be perfect out there, and it's just let's get them introduced to the game and then sort of let nature take its course. Give them some introductory lessons, let them understand a little bit about what needs to happen, and then just let them naturally develop their swing and help nurture them along the way. I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit, because one of the things I didn't mention, and I know you talked about it a little bit last time you were on, is I'm assuming you're still volunteering with the Special Olympics in Tennessee?
Yes, I am.
Tell us a little bit about that. How's that been going?
Well, that's been a kind of a sad thing for me this year, because those kids, they're pretty isolated right now, for good reason, because of the fears with if they contract the COVID-19, it could be way worse than one of us getting it. So we haven't done anything in person. We've had a few, phone calls, and we've put up pictures and sent pictures to each other and things like that. But we're hoping to, hopefully maybe we might try to do a small group this fall. The parents have been just a little bit leery, so we haven't really been doing anything in person, which has been a bummer for me, because that's that's really the highlight of my week. So that's kind of taken a back seat for now, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, but as you said, for good reason, though.
I think our athletes are still out golfing. Yeah, some of them are out playing, so that's good, with their families. So that's huge.
Yeah, no, that's right. And it'll come around. I mean, once things, sort of the veil gets lifted a little bit more and parents feel more comfortable, then they're going to re-engage into some of these different programs and that. And just one other quick thing, and then Cindy, I'll hand it back to you, is give us an update on the Belly Rubs Basset Rescue. I love that.
I know. You know what? Belly Rubs is alive and well. We keep saving lots of hounds. We actually we lost two of our girls last year. They were old, so it was just their time. They were both about 15. So we were going to wait a little bit to adopt some new ones, but then the pandemic hit, and we were sitting at home looking at each other. And, when you don't have kids at home, you need something else to take care of other than your husband. So, and vice versa for him. So we adopted two new Bassets. We have an 11-year-old named Jessie and a 5-year-old named Nellie, and they're both doing great. They get along great, and I think everybody needs to rescue at least one dog in their life.
I couldn't
so they're
agree
doing well.
more.
The rescue's doing well. This has been a really good time for rescue, actually, because a lot of people have kind of been like we are. They need something to do.
Right.
So a lot of the adoptions have been up, which has been great. And that, of course, is a revenue source for the rescue. And we've been doing some online auctions and things like that. So people are getting creative and still raising money. So it's going well. And thanks for asking about that. I really love that group.
Not a problem. And, it's great. Even, just one last point, and then Cindy, like I said, I'll pass over to you. But, even though we're all kind of going through a difficult time, it's just amazing the creativity that comes out of this. People will find a way to continue on doing things, even if they're isolated at home or in some situation where they can't get out and do what they normally do. They will find a way to, further their cause or what have you. So I think that's great, and it's great that you and your husband are helping out as well. Cindy, go ahead.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what do you love best about teaching?
Ooh, that has changed over the years. I think relationships have always been one of the things, but I'd say that's gotten higher on my list. And then just, of course, your student successes, and that can, as you know, Cindy, can look like absolutely anything. So, a lot of people come to the game and they want to get good at it and become competitive, and other people just come to the game because they want to hang out with their friends. They want something to do. Maybe all their kids are gone. I just started teaching a lady this spring. She's 70, and she's done a lot of mission work. She raised 6 children. Her husband's a doctor, and they're both retired now. And she's like, her kids are all grown. She's like, I need to do something. And also she just got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and her doctor, I think, wanted her to try to find a new activity. So she does a lot of yoga and things like that. And she absolutely has been bitten by the golf bug, and it's so awesome. She's getting fitted today for a brand new set of pings, and she's all in 100%. And that makes me happy.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah, that
How
makes me
awesome
happy.
is that?
She just booked a trip to Pinehurst. So she said, where should I go? They were supposed to go on, they're celebrating their 50th anniversary in September, and they were supposed to go to Cabo. So, of course, they're not going to fly anywhere. So I said, you guys need to hop in the car and go to Pinehurst. So she's booked her trip. She's staying at the Carolina. She's playing number 2. I mean, this lady is just, she's on fire, And it's all because of golf. It's all because of golf. And that brings me the most joy, I think, seeing something like that. How about for you?
Absolutely agree.
What's your favorite thing?
We give hope. We give hope.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't matter how old they are, right?
Yeah.
I got a woman that, basically almost cried. She's like, oh, my God. And and she's old. I don't know how old, but old. And I'm old. She's really old, right? And so, again, it's just, you don't have to suck. You can be better.
Right.
So that's what we do. We give hope to those who don't think there is any.
I agree with you, and I think, that's just good for people to, if they don't have a good experience maybe with their first teacher, that they keep trying because, you don't click with everybody, and I feel like, for me, I'm going to find that one thing that I'm going to have in common with that person so that their experience is as positive as it can be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, and I think that one of the things about playing the game of golf, you miss it far more than you hit it good. And so almost everyone that's ever tried it has had a bad experience. So I believe it's my job to give them a good one. So that's what it's all about to me is, you may not hit it perfect, but you're going to have fun and you're going to learn how to fix what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, perfect.
Ted, what about you?
I couldn't agree more. And let me ask, I'm going to ask both of you, obviously, Louise, you go first as our guest, but kind of along the lines of what you both were just talking about. When you have somebody that has maybe played golf for many, many years, but sort of, just hasn't had a really enjoyable experience, or maybe they're just, played good at one point earlier in their life, but now they're sort of on the back end and they're just not playing well, and are almost to the point of giving up. What's the conversation you're going to have, Louise?
Yeah, that's it. That's great. And I think that's a real issue for a lot of people where, they played at a high level and they've either had injuries or they're older or just time gets away from them and they get away from the game and then they try to come back and expect to be where they were before. So I think just, you've really got to get to the reason, like what's their why? Why do you want to stay in the game? And then try to foster that. And, if they really are trying to get back to where they were before, then I think you just need to be real honest and break it down for them and say, look, you can do it. Here's the work you're going to have to put in, and are you going to have time, and are you willing to do that? And then whatever their answer is, that's kind of the fork in the road on which direction for me as a teacher I go in. But you've got to find out really why they're in the game, why they want to stay in the game, why is it important to them, and then really make sure that becomes a high priority when you're teaching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Cindy, let me just ask the same thing for you, but from a different perspective, because Louise brings up a very good point. I mean, when you're a little bit younger and whatnot, maybe you got to the level of even being a scratch golfer. Fast forward at now your 70s, maybe 80s, that's not realistic in most. I mean, it would be very, very unusual for somebody to be at that level at that point. But in their mind, they still see themselves as a scratch player. Does it now become an acceptance that it's okay, you're not going to be as good as you were 30, 40 years ago, but you can still get out there and be competitive and have some fun? What do you see as a conversation you're going to have with that student?
Well, the first thing I would ask them is, what tees are you playing? So in my opinion, again, the U.S. Kids Golf event, I've got a 7-year-old that played in their first tournament this week that shot 52, and an 8-year-old that shot 43, and the mission of U.S. Kids is to allow everybody to hit every green. So if you're 70 and you only hit it, 180 yards, and you used to be scratch and hit it 275, then you should play up tees, and if you can reach the greens, you could still be scratch, right?
Yep.
If you're able to swing. So that's my first comeback is, what tees are you playing? Because when we grew up, or when I grew up, I shouldn't talk on because I'm older than both of you, but, you were always playing tees that were so long that, 53 from the ladies' tees when you're 7 is really good, right? Because you can't reach the greens. Par is 45 or 54. So if you're playing the right tees, you should be able to shoot even par. because you can reach the green.
Yeah.
So now you're always looking forward to breaking par. I mean, let's just go back to Sarah White. Sarah White just said she hits it. She flies at 275. Her ball speed's 161. Well, PGA Tour players' ball speeds are 181. So, I mean, she's like playing baby tees. It's like stealing candy from a baby. If she doesn't birdie every par 5, something's wrong, right? She should be able to reach every par 5 and 2 if she hits it 300 yards. So that would be like Louise and I playing in the Ladies Club Championship from 5,000 yards.
Yeah,
it's
baby.
Like, bring it. Let's go. You know?
Bring it. Let's go.
Yeah, but, you know, they're making us play from 6,100 yards, and we're like, oh, my God, it's driver 3 with wedge. You know?
Driver 3 with driver hybrid. Driver.
Right. So, again, it all depends on the tee markers. So I believe the way to keep people in the game is to shorten the tees as you get older. Again, you know, I play on the Legends Tour against Laura Davies. Okay, that's like David and Goliath, right? Give me a break. She's going to outdrive me by 100 yards. And that comes to the point where, Cindy, it's time to look in the mirror. You're not good enough. Well, you know, I'm 10 years older than her. Move me up. I mean, she's going to get pissed, right?
I'll tell you a funny, quick little story about my dad, you know, who taught me the game. He, you know, all of a sudden it seems like men kind of, all of a sudden they just lose that power. My dad was a very strong, athletic guy, but arthritis, you know, worked 7 days a week his whole life. He gets to be about 70, and he comes to visit me one time in Tennessee, and he's still got his stiff steel-shafted irons that he bought when he was 50. I'm like, Dad, do you want to get your clubs reshafted? You know, because we had a great club guy at the place I was working. And he's like, oh, I don't know. He goes, well, you know, I just don't hit it that far anymore. I'm like, Dad, let's get your clubs reshafted. You know, so we did, and we went to graphite, lightweight, you know, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden his ball's in the air again. He has moved up a tee. That took forever to convince him, to your point, Cindy, to finally move up to the next set of tees. Don't go all the way to the forward, but go one back from the forward. Got the new shafts. Very first round of golf. We go out, we play with these clubs. He makes a freaking hole-in-one. His first one of his life after 50 years of golf. I'm like, you're welcome, Dad. You know, oh, my God, it was awesome. But, you know, equipment matters, moving up matters, all of that matters. So
exactly.
Crazy.
And you can play forever as long as you can move.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've seen people play in their 90s. They don't hit it as far as they once did. They may struggle at times to even break 100, but you know, they're able to have fun. They enjoy it because they're realistic. You know, that's the other thing too, is you have to be realistic and have reasonable expectations. You know, given the circumstance.
Yeah.
And that, as Cindy's point, you know, if you're moving up and in your point, you know, making adjustments to your equipment. You may not necessarily shoot what you once did, but you're going to be a lot closer than you were if you just go out there and play with the same equipment you've had for 25 years and you're playing from the back championship tees, you know, that you were doing when you were 22 and you're now 72.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense. And that's part of the problem. That's why you see, I think, a lot of frustration. And again, to your point, Louise, particularly with men, because they equate their game with power, and suddenly they don't have that power anymore. They don't know what to do to change it. And they get frustrated, and, you know, from a player that maybe played 2 or 3 times a week, now is lucky if they play once a month because they're just frustrated. They're just not happy with their game. And, you know, now they're, you know, in the old lazy boy chair, and they're just not getting out. And, you know, you've got 3 inches of dust on their golf clubs in the garage. So, you got to make some changes. You got to be willing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know how
Louise, we got to wrap up.
Is just to keep moving. Okay.
Right, exactly. We got to wrap up, but very quickly, since you now changed venues, why don't you let the folks know the best way they can reach out to you now and where you're currently working out of?
Okay, great, terrific. So all my contact information is the same, my email and my phone number. I am at Dead Horse Lake Golf Club, and it's in West Knoxville, Tennessee, and everybody's welcome there. So we got a terrific driving range and a beautiful golf course and great prices. So come on down.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Thank you, my dear.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you very much for joining us this morning. All right, you too.
All right, you guys have a good day.
You too,
You too.
honey.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Louise Ball, and up in Tennessee. Sounds like she's really enjoying her new venue and just doing a lot of the stuff that she enjoys doing, and that's of course out there teaching with all of the new folks, if you will, at her new venue. And definitely need to get in touch with her if you're up in the Tennessee area or planning a trip through there. You'll get some good instruction. All right. Thanks again to our special guests, and we will see you next week here on the Women of Golf Show. Have a great week, everybody. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thanks for listening this morning to the Women of Golf Show. Tune in live each week by visiting blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. If you can't join us live, check out our on-demand section for previously aired broadcasts. To get updates for future shows and upcoming guests, you can follow us on Facebook at Women of Golf. You can also follow me on Twitter at Ted and Buck CEO and Cindy at Cindy Miller Golf. Please remember to join us next week on the Women of Golf Show. See you next time. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.